Breaking Bad has many things going on at once, from the use of colour, the cinematography, the writing and acting, all great. But there's one thing that I haven't really seen brought up a lot, and that's the themes of Nazism. Now while there are very few instances throughout the show that deal with Nazis directly or mentioned, all of them directly tie back to Walter, and this idea that he is, in a way, a Nazi. And I don't mean Nazi in terms of hating minorities, wanting a pure Aryan race. I'm talking more about having a cruel agenda and need for control, and thinking that their belief is the true belief that everyone should have. A sort of false enlightenment of sorts. Now the first mention is during the first season, in which the episode which follows Walt and Jesse dealing with Crazy 8 and them getting rid of Emilio's body. And they argue about what to do, and Walter says that
smells like toe cheese and dry cleaning.
Because you didn't follow my instructions.
Oh, well, Heil Hitler, bitch! And
Now initially this is a very funny scene, but I think Jesse is already aware of Walter's overbearing, totalitarian nature, which becomes evident throughout the show as it goes on. Later on in the first season is where Walt's first use of the alias of Heisenberg is used when introducing himself to Tuco.
What's your name? Heisenberg.
Now names are quite important throughout Breaking Bad. Just take for example Walter's two aliases. Walter White, who was a real life civil rights activist, who was considered one of the most important of the first half of the 20th century. However, Walter's other nickname, Heisenberg, was a German scientist and also a key scientist in German nuclear power programming during World War II, and was a main rival was the Manhattan Project in order to create the first nuclear weapons, which did further the idea of Walt being a Nazi. As well, never a fully fledged member of the Nazi party, Heisenberg did work with them and did what they wanted him to do. There's also a multitude of German names throughout the show, and involvement with Germans, from Mike Ehrmantraut to Hank Schrader. Schrader being the name of both a Nazi member, Otto von Schrader, a high-ranking member at that, and Werner Schrader, who attempted a coup d'etat to kill Hitler, signifying Hank's grey nature but ultimately good intentions. A large cannon used mainly in destroying the forts of the French Magnoite line. Walter makes it sound like it was destroyed by a nemesis of the Germans, whilst in reality his story is made up and the Germans in reality destroyed it to prevent its use from the Allied troops, which could be Walter falling deeper into control and use essentially propaganda on Jesse and showing his total control of Jesse, and why Jesse should trust him despite lying to him. And the biggest instance of these themes and imagery in the series is Jack and his gang. Now, him and his gang essentially come out of nowhere and are first seen when Walt wants to use them to kill all of Mike's men in prison. Now they are able to do it, but one thing to notice about them is the fact that their Nazis isn't really made a big deal, and the only person to really notice their racist attitudes is this waitress, but only really notices in the tattoos, but apart from that, nothing else. Which is the point, Walt has fallen so much that he's working with neo-Nazis, and during their intro scene, he seems the most scary person in that room, rather than them.
It can be done exactly how I want it. The only question is, are you the man to do it? Figure it out.
This idea culminates during Hank's death, which kind of coincides with Werner Schrader, who after his failed coup d'etat kills himself, while Hank literally asks to be shot in the head by Jack. And it's shown that the Nazis still respect Walter and are on equal footing as each other. A nice detail is Walt's clothes. Now in Breaking Bad, colours are massively important. Walt's jacket seems to just suggest some sort of normalcy and innocence, which of course isn't really going on, and perhaps suggesting Walt has fallen so much so he's no better than Jack and his gang. And the fact he's wearing it suggests he's living a pure life, thus the idea of false enlightenment, which is what the idea of Nazism as an ideology actually is. And if you think about it, Walt's depiction is kind of like Jack and his gang. Both of them are shown to be money hungry, need for control, quite sexual in nature, and manipulate their subordinates, Jack with Todd, Walt with Jesse. This is reinforced when Walter allows the capture of Jesse by telling Jack and his gang where Jesse actually is, and inadvertently led to Jesse's imprisonment and forced him into a cage to become a slave, all because he betrayed his leader. Sound like anyone? But it's in the last few episodes where Walt realises his frailties and flaws in his viewpoint, and knows he must change it and to try redeem himself, the only way by ensuring his family's safety, ensure that he is demonized and not his family, save Jesse and of himself in order to free himself from his false viewpoint, whilst looking very similar to himself in the earlier parts of the show. Similar clothes, hair, but the white in the beard perhaps suggesting a sort of wisdom has been achieved by Walter. Overall, this is perhaps just some, overanalyzation. However, there are definitely quite a few mentions of Nazis throughout the show, and a show that isn't really political despite its topic, and to me it's something that not really anybody else has commented on, and I just wanted to talk about it in this video.